So, another affirmative for anatomical knowledge.
Aye. But there's less talk about him being left-handed this time, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. There was some at the inquest on Longley's Stride, then.
2 doctors. The one who came out most firmly was our old friend...
George Bagster Phillips, 2 Spittal Square. I was called at 1:20 on Sunday morning to Leman Street Police Station, and from there sent to Berner Street. The body was lying on the near side, with the face turned to the wall. The left arm was extended, and there was a packet of cachou in the left hand. A number of these were in the gutter. I took them out of her hand and gave them to Dr. Blackwell. I found in the pocket of the underskirt of the deceased the following articles: a key, as if belonging to a padlock, a small piece of lead pencil, a pocket comb, a broken piece of comb, a metal spoon, some buttons, and a hook.
Dr. Phillips...
I will answer any questions put to me. But as there is another case pending, I think I had better stop here.
What is the cause of death?
It is undoubtedly from loss of blood from the left carotid artery and the division of the windpipe.
Did you examine the blood at Berner Street?
I did. Roughly estimating it, I should say there was an unusual flow of blood, considering the stature and nourishment of the body.
How long had the deceased been dead when you arrived?
Within the hour, she had been alive.
Have you formed any opinion how the right hand of the deceased was covered with blood?
No, that is a mystery. I may say I am taking it as a fact that the hand always remained in the same position in which I found it, resting across the body.
Would the presence of the cachou in the hand show that it was done suddenly? Or would it simply show a muscular grasp?
I cannot say.
Was there anything in the cut to show that the incision was done with a pointed knife?
No.
Would the murderer be likely to get bloodstained?
Not necessarily, for the commencement of the wound and the injuries to the blood vessels would be away from him. The absence of noise is a difficult question in this case. She might have called out and not have been heard.
Could you give us any idea of the position of the victim?
I have come to the conclusion that the deceased was seized by the shoulders and placed on the ground, and that the perpetrator of the deed was on her right side when he inflicted the cut. I am of the opinion that the cut was made from the left to the right side of the deceased.
Would the injury take long to inflict?
Only a few seconds. It could have been done in 2 seconds.
Good word, that, perpetrator. He was on her right, and the cut ran from her left to right. Dr. Blackwell's evidence agrees with that.
While she was on the ground. Well, that would make sense if he didn't want to get blood all over her. Doesn't sound like a left-handed cut to me, though. Come and be Longley's Stride.
Huh? Anything to oblige?
Now, she had a scarf on. The knot was pulled over to her left, so if I was going to kill you, I'd put my left arm round you like so, grab the scarf, pull the knot up like that. That would pull her backwards, go down with her, and then this would expose the throat, and the cut was from left to right, as both the doctors say. Couldn't do that if I was left-handed, though. Unless I worked from the front, but then it would have to be a backwards cut. No, no positive confirmation of left-handed. You all right?
I'm fine. Just lying here waiting to be disemboweled.
Don't confuse me. You're Longley's Stride, not Catherine Eddowes.
Across the throat, from left to right. The sign of the entered apprentice.
You what?
The sign of the entered apprentice.
Sorcery?
You do a bit of conjuring. What did the Ripper look like?
Well, I made a list of people who saw a man with Longley's not long before she died.
They contradict each other.
They cancel each other out.
So?
It's not just prejudice, but the one I rather like the sound of is PC 452H Smith William.
My beat was past Berners Street and would take me 25 minutes or half an hour to go round. I was in Berners Street about 12:30 or 20 minutes to 1.
Did you notice any man or woman in Berners Street when you were there then?
Yes, talking together.
Was the woman anything like the deceased?
Yes, I saw her face, and I think that the body in the mortuary is that of the same woman.
Are you certain?
I feel certain. She stood on the pavement a few yards from where the body was found, but on the opposite side of the street.
Did you look at the man at all?
Yes.
What did you notice about him?
He had a parcel wrapped in a newspaper in his hand. The parcel was about 18 inches long by about 6 to 8 inches broad.
Did you notice his height?
He was about 5'7".
What about his hat?
He wore a dark felt deerstalker's hat.
What about his clothes?
His clothes were dark. The coat was a cutaway coat.
Did you overhear any conversation?
No.
Did they seem to be sober?
Yes, both.
Did you see the man's face?
He had no whiskers, but I did not notice him much. I should say he was about 28 years of age. He was of a respectable appearance, but I could not say what he was. The woman had a flower in her breast. When I saw the body at the mortuary, I recognized it at once.
He sounds convincing. Not too dogmatic.
So we can compare his description with that given by Mrs. Long in the case of Annie Chapman.
Agreed. She said dark, brown deerstalker, over 40, shabby genteel.
And Smith says dark felt deerstalker, dark clothes, cutaway coat, about 5'7", respectable, no whiskers, about 28. There are discrepancies.
There's a description from murder number 4.
Catherine Eddowes.
Joseph Lavande, a commercial traveller.
I left the Imperial Club at about 20 to 2 that morning. I saw a man and a woman standing together at the corner of Church Passage in Duke Street, which leads into Mitre Square. The woman was standing with her face towards the man. I couldn't see her face. The man was taller than she was. She had on a black jacket and bonnet. I saw her put her hand on a man's chest.
Can you tell us what sort of a man it was with whom she was speaking?
He was wearing a cloth cap with a peak.
Unless the jury wish it, I have a special reason why no further description of this man should be given now.
Oh, damn. That was beginning to sound quite promising.
He did give the description to the police. And Major Smith, the acting commissioner of the city police, adds a few more details.
The description of the man given to me by the man who was leaving the club was as follows. Young, about the middle height, with a small fair moustache, dressed in something like navy serge and with a deerstalker's cap. I think he spoke the truth, because I could not lead him in any way. I said to him, "You'll easily recognize him then." "Oh, no," he said. "I only had a short look at him."
Convincing, too. In your terms, because he's anything but dogmatic. So young, middle height, small fair moustache, and the deerstalker cap again.
Sure it wasn't Sherlock Holmes?
That's you.
Ta. The what is more like Watson, and you're more like Major Smith.
Just because I blow my top from time to time.
Not only that, he was a great one for going on the job himself.
Well, he hasn't been much in evidence, has he?
More than most of the brats from Scotland Yard.
Makes funny reading, doesn't it? A new assistant commissioner of crime is appointed, Dr. Robert Anderson.
Supposed to be in charge of CID, and he's not even a policeman, let alone a detective, a doctor of law, a barrister.
Lawyers should stick to the court. I mean, no lawyer ever made a good thief catcher.
And not just a barrister, an Irish barrister. He'd done some work catching home rulers running about with bombs.
Yeah. They put him in charge of CID. Dr. Robert Anderson takes up his appointment the night before Mary Ann Nichols is killed. He stays 1 week at the yard. Then the 8th of September, Annie Chapman is killed, and on the 9th, Dr. Anderson leaves for his holidays in Switzerland.
He's good and smug and unctuous about it, too.
When the staid English go in for a scare, they take leave of all moderation and common sense. If nonsense were solid, the nonsense that was talked and written about the murders would sink a dreadnought. The subject is an unsavory one. It is enough to say that the wretched victims belonged to a very small class of degraded women who frequent the East End streets after midnight in the hope of inveigling belated drunkards or men as degraded as themselves.
After 3 weeks in Switzerland, Dr. Anderson, as a great concession, comes as near as Paris. To be in touch, as he said, though there were no London to Paris telephones, and telegrams went just as fast to Switzerland.
Did he ever come back?
I received an urgent appeal from the Home Secretary to return to London. So, of course, I complied.
That was the night of our double event.
And did he do anything?
I spent the day of my return to town and half the following night in re-investigating the whole case. And next day, I had a long conference on the subject with the Secretary of State and the Commissioner of Police. The Secretary of State said, "We hold you responsible to find the murderer." I replied, "I hold myself responsible to take all legitimate means to find him." But I went on to say that the measures I found in operation were, in my opinion, wholly indefensible and scandalous, for these wretched women were plying their trade under definite police protection.
Not very effective protection.
Anderson had 2 ideas.
Let us warn them, the police will not protect them.
They likely didn't need the warning. Second idea?
Let the police of that district receive orders to arrest any known street woman found on the prowl after midnight.
Where was he going to put them all?
He didn't say. Mind you, that was a sensible idea compared to the ideas printed in the papers. The suggestion that Scotland Yard should disguise some of its men as women in order to trap the Whitechapel killer has been rejected by a top police official. The official points out that none of his men are less than 5'7" and that nearly all wear moustaches, which they would be reluctant to shave off. However, there are a number of well-trained pugilists in Whitechapel. These, as is the custom in their profession, are clean-shaven. 20 game men of this class in women's clothing loitering about would have more chance than any number of heavy-footed policemen. Another idea has come from one of our readers, Mr. Spencer Howell. He writes, "I would suggest that a few young men of somewhat feminine appearance should be got up disguised as females. It seems the assassin first severs his victim's windpipe, thereby preventing her raising the alarm. To overcome this, these men could wear around their necks steel collars coming well down the breast."
Somebody must have been more practical.
There was Major Smith. Jack the Ripper had walked only 3/4 of a mile that night after killing Elizabeth Stride. But he'd walked out of the metropolitan area into the territory of the city police. He may have done it deliberately, for all I know, thinking that even the Met would be jumping up and down after the first murder. So, Major Henry Smith had the Ripper on his own patch. Not that he hadn't been trying to catch him before. That night, he was sleeping in a police station, Cloak Lane, next to Southwark Bridge.
The night of Saturday, 29th of September, found me tossing about in my bed at the Cloak Lane station. There was a railway goods depot in front of my rooms and a furrier's premises behind them. The lane was a causeway, and there were heavy vans going constantly in and out. And the sickening smell from the furrier's skins, you could not open the windows, and sleep was an impossibility. Suddenly, the bell at my head rang violently. A voice said, "There's been another murder, sir, this time in the city." I was dressed and in the street in a couple of minutes. There was a hansom at the door, and I jumped into it. It was licensed to carry 2, and it didn't take me long to discover that a 15-stone superintendent inside with me and 3 detectives hanging on did nothing to add to its safety or comfort. We rode like a sailing ship in a gale, but we got to Mitre Square without an upset, where I found a small group of my men standing round the mutilated remains of a woman.
The upset came when he found his own men had disobeyed.
That woman was let out alone at 5 to 1. If we'd followed her...
A chain is as strong as its weakest link.
Try making a leather chain. Here, Detective Sergeant Daniel House.
When I saw the dead woman at the mortuary, I noticed that a piece of her apron was missing. About half of it. It had been cut off with a clean cut. And when I got back to Mitre Square, I heard that a piece of apron had been found in Galston Street. I went there with Detective Hunt to the spot where the apron had been discovered. There I saw some chalk writing on the wall. I stayed there and I sent Hunt to find Mr. McWilliam. He wanted instructions to have the writing photographed. Directions were given for that to be done. But some members of the Metropolitan Police were present, and it was decided to have the writing rubbed out.
It was decided to have the writing rubbed out.
You heard?
Who decided?
Don't you want to know what the writing was?
I'm much more interested in knowing what policeman decided off his own bat to destroy evidence practically as soon as it had been discovered.
I'm not absolutely sure just who decided, though I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure I know why. And it wasn't for the reason that was said at the time. It's all in the inquest.
I was on duty in Galston Street, Whitechapel, at about 2:55 a.m. when I found a portion of an apron. There were recent stains of blood on it. It was lying in a passage leading to a staircase of numbers 118 and 119, which are ordinary dwelling houses. Above it on the wall was writing in chalk. It said, "The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing." I at once searched the staircases and areas of the landing, but found nothing. I then took the piece of apron to Commercial Road Police Station and reported it to the inspector on duty.
Are you sure that those were the exact words you saw written on the wall? Have you not put the word "not" in the wrong place? Is it not the Jews are not the men that will be blamed for nothing?
The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing.
How do you spell Jews?
J-W-S.
Now, was it not on the wall J-U-W-E-S? J-U-W-E-S. Is it not possible you are wrong?
It may be as to the spelling.
Do you have with you the pocketbook in which you made the entry at the time?
No, that's at the station at Westminster.
We shall postpone further examination of this witness. I would like the pocketbook produced in court as soon as possible.
What's all this fuss about spelling? J-E-W-S, J-U-W-E-S. Doesn't mean anything to me.
Would you read out to us the exact words you took down in your book at the time?
The Jews are not the men that will be blamed for nothing.
That is J-U-W-E-S.
Yes.
In your opinion, the writing had been done recently?
Yes, it appeared to have been recently done.
Did anyone suggest that it would be possible to take out the word Jews and leave the rest of the writing there?
Oh, I suggested the top line might be rubbed out, and the Metropolitan Police suggested the word Jews. They were afraid of a riot, and that was the only reason for rubbing out the writing.
Did you protest against this action?
Yes, I did. I wanted it left until Major Smith had seen it. But the spot where the writing was on Metropolitan Police ground, and they insisted on having the writing rubbed out.
This is ridiculous. The point is evidence had been destroyed. I mean, that could easily have been done by Jack the Ripper, and it was rubbed out. That is what is important, not whether the spelling's right or not.
Mr. Crawford was very interested in this particular piece of spelling, and so am I. Because I know, I think I know, exactly what Mr. Crawford was getting at. And if I'm right, it tells us a good deal more about Jack the Ripper than whether he could spell or not.
This pocketbook contains the entry you made at the time as to the words written on the wall.
Yes, it does. What I wrote down was, "The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing." The inspector made the remark that on the wall the word was J-U-W-E-S. I entered in my book what I thought was an exact copy of the words.
At all events, there was a discrepancy between what you wrote down and what was actually written on the wall, as far as regards the spelling of the word Jews.
The only remark the inspector made was about the spelling of the word Jews. I was there when the writing was rubbed out. That was about 5:30 or thereabouts.
5:05, 6:30, 9:45, what does it matter? Who ordered that writing rubbed out? Why wasn't Crawford worrying about that instead of chasing around after spelling mistakes?
I think Mr. Crawford felt it might have been improper for him to do that. After all, he was acting for the city police. And according to Major Henry Smith, the head of the city police, The man who ordered the writing to be rubbed off was Sir Charles Warren, the Chief Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police.
Was it, by God?
Yes. And he was on the spot double quick when he heard about it.
But why order it to be rubbed down? If he didn't want people to see it, he could have had it covered up. Posted a couple of bobbies there, at least until the photographer arrived. After all, it was only 5:30 in the morning.
It is odd, isn't it?
Odd? It's extraordinary.
And according to Sir Charles, the reason for having those words rubbed out was that he was afraid of riots against the Jews. But that still doesn't explain why he went to the lengths of destroying the evidence completely and in such a hurry.
Panic, maybe. Or perhaps he got his priorities wrong. I'd say the best way to stop riots in Whitechapel would be to catch the Ripper. But then Warren wouldn't think like that, would he? He wasn't a copper. He was a soldier, a law and order man.
And he proved it, too. November the 13th, 1887.
Bloody Sunday.
In exercise of the powers vested in me under the Act, 2 and 3 Vict. Cap 47, I hereby make the following regulation. No organized procession shall be allowed to approach Trafalgar Square on Sunday, November the 13th. Charles Warren, the Commissioner of the Police of the Metropolis.
And after seeing that posted up, guess where the organized procession's headed straight for?
Sir Charles Warren doing his job the way he saw it.
It is not that I apprehend any organized movement from the socialists themselves or from any other organized body, but it is from the roughs and criminals who always attach themselves to large processions and meetings that I anticipate serious damage to property.
Property, the great Victorian god.
You still better not let your chief constable hear you talking like that. The police are there to prevent damage to persons and to property, so Warren was right. And at least he believed in the idea that if a job was worth doing, it was worth doing well.
100 men will take up position in single file along the ramparts on each side of the square on the outside. Inside, there'll be 120 in double file. There'll be 100 men at the head of each row of steps leading into the square. 50 more will cover the corners. The front of the square will be held by 750 men in ranks of 4 deep. 300 mounted police will patrol in pairs. Processions approaching the square will be broken up by the reserve force of 2,500 men. 300 lifeguards will remain in reserve. 300 grenadier guards will be held behind the National Gallery. If called upon, they will line the parapets with fixed bayonets.
I don't go for that bit.
Things were rougher then, and they didn't call it Bloody Sunday for nothing.
Just before 4 o'clock, an excited movement was visible among the crowd at the Strand entrance to the square. A column of about 400 men advanced, led by a gentleman without a hat and by another person. These turned out to be Mr. Cunningham Graham, MP, and Mr. Burns, the well-known socialist, who had come with the avowed intention of testing the legality of Sir Charles Warren's proclamation. Mr. Graham is alleged to have made a determined rush at the police and to have assaulted some of the constables in an attempt to get through the files. He had no stick in his hand, but is said to have used his fists freely. The police used their batons, and Mr. Graham received a blow on the head, inflicting a wound which bled freely. At 4:15, a detachment of 200 lifeguards entered the square. And at 5:10, the Grenadier Guards wheeled down into the square, their rifles on their shoulders, their bayonets fixed, and 20 rounds of ball cartridge in their pouches. In front of the National Gallery, they halted, opened up into lines, and drove the crowd back from the roadway. A few showed a disposition to maintain their ground, but 2 or 3 of the soldiers brought their bayonets to the charge, and this ended all thoughts of resistance. By 6 o'clock, all danger of further disturbance was at an end. more than 150 persons were conducted to the neighbouring hospitals for surgical treatment.
And they gave Sir Charles Warren the KCB in December.
And the order of the boot the following November.
Fair enough. Good at stopping riots, bad at catching rippers.
Except I still reckon it wasn't fear of riots that made him rub that writing off the wall. That was just an excuse. When Warren saw that writing, he knew exactly what it meant. And so did Mr. Crawford, the city solicitor. That's why he was so keen on the exact spelling of the word Jews. And the reason I twigged that was because I read a biography of Warren. That's what made the penny drop.
And what does it mean, John? I'm not used to this cat and mouse from you.
I can't say exactly. Not yet, anyway. But then, I don't belong. Do you?